Hey, it's Miss Tuas again. Welcome back. We're going to talk about how do we count atoms in a chemical equation. Now, we're talking atoms specifically here, okay? We're not talking about molecules or anything like that, specifically focusing on individual atoms. So when we count atoms, the first thing I always do is I always draw a line where the arrow is, separating the reactants and products. And that will come in very handy when you get into talking about whether an equation is balanced or not. Okay, so then what I do is I list out the elements involved in my equation. Here I have H for hydrogen, I've got O for oxygen, and then I do exactly the same thing on the other side. I've got this visual representation down here for us to be able to check our math, essentially, okay? Or be able to compare as to why I do the things I do. When you're counting atoms, you have to take into consideration the coefficient, which is any number in front of a formula, as well as the subscript. And you use multiplication. So in order to figure out the number of hydrogen atoms on the reactant side, you're going to take this 2 and you're going to multiply it. So you're going to multiply it by the subscript. And so we get 2 times 2, and that gives us a total of 4 atoms of hydrogen. If we pop down to our visual picture here, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 4 atoms of hydrogen. That's why we have to multiply, okay? Because we have 2 molecules, and each molecule has 2 atoms. 2 times 2 is 4, okay? For oxygen, we do not have a coefficient, so there's essentially an invisible 1 right here, but we never write the 1. So if there's no coefficient, that means we just need to take the subscript into account. So there are 2 atoms of oxygen on the reactant side. Now we're going to pop over to the product and make sure that we know how to do this when we've got more than one element in our formula. So again, this 2 is going to talk about that it's going to be multiplied by that subscript, but this 2 has to be multiplied by everything inside that formula. Think about this as if you were going 3x minus 1. When you distribute to everything inside the parentheses, right? So in this case, this 2 needs to be multiplied by the number of hydrogen atoms. So 2 times 2 gives us the 4 hydrogen atoms. And this 2 also gets multiplied by the invisible 1 of our subscript for oxygen, giving us 2 oxygen atoms. Now, if you don't believe me, let's look down here at our picture. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 hydrogen atoms. That is the 2 times 2. And we've got 1, 2 atoms of oxygen. That's this 2 times the 1. Okay, so that's how we count atoms when we're looking at a balanced chemical equation. Thanks, guys.